Hello Sudoku friends and welcome to an evil puzzle by websudoku.com. I prefer the interface here on sudokuexchange.com, so I transferred the grid over here because it makes it easier for me to exemplify and to illustrate my thought processes using cursor movements. So without further ado, let's get started. I usually start by scanning the grid to find the easy singles, and there's a 2 to be found here because the 2 here and these 2's basically block all of these cells from containing a 2, so a 2 will have to go here. And now one of these cells will have to be a 2. There is a 5 to be found here because this 5 blocks this cell and this 5 blocks this cell. That means that one of these 2 cells must be a 5. So a ghost 5 here and a 5 in row 2 makes it necessary to find a 5 for row 3. And given the 5 down here, this is the only place it can go. While I'm looking at the 5, I'm also spotting the 3 here and the 3 here, and they force a 3 into this cell without any further explanation necessary, I think. I can see a 6 and a 7 going into these 3 cells here. There's a 7 here, and there's a 7 here, and there's a 6 here, and there's a 6 here. So no more 7s and 6s. It can be in these 2 columns. So the only place for a 6 and a 7 is going to be in these 3 cells. There's also a 3 that goes into this cell because the 3 here and the 3 here and the 3 here, they block all of these squares from being a 3, and therefore the 3 must go here. And now this 3 and this 3 block these cells from being a 3, and this cell here, this 3 here blocks this cell. So the 3 must go here, and now we've got the 3 here and here blocking all of these cells, and we've got the 3 here blocking this cell. So the 3 for the bottom row must go right here. I am making a mental note of the 6 here that blocks these cells from being a 6, and the 6 here blocks these 2. So I know that a 6 for this row will have to go either here or here. And because of the 6 up here, a 6 for row 8 will go here or here. And a 6 for row 4 will go here or here because of the 6 here and the 6 here. I think we can place a couple of 5s. The 5 here and the 5 here and the 5 here block all of these cells from containing a 5. So therefore, the 5 must go here, and now this 5 and this 5 puts a 5 in this cell. And I think we are close to getting all the 5s, aren't we? Let's see. The 5 here and here puts a 5 in one of these 2 cells, and it cannot go here, of course. So this is a 5. And this cell up here must be a 5 now, because we have these 2 5s blocking these 2 cells. And now we've got all the 3s and we got all the 5s. Let's see if we can continue in this style. I think I can find a 7. Because of this 7 here blocking this cell, a 7 must go into one of these 2 cells. But this 7 here blocks these 2 cells, and therefore a 7 for this row will have to go here or here, and therefore cannot go here, and therefore the 7 must go here. That was kind of neat. Now we need to find a 2 and a 9 for the 2 remaining cells, and there's a 2 here, of course, that blocks this cell, so it must be a 9, and this must be a 2. And now one of these 2 cells must be a 2, of course. I'm also casting a little bit of attention on these 3 cells. They have to be a 1, 4, and a 9. Of course, this cell cannot be a 9 because of the 9 here. So it will have to be a 1 or a 4, and this has to be a 1, 4, and 9, and so does this. I was getting a little desperate, so I started looking at the ones. There are only 3 given ones in the puzzle, but this one here puts a 1 in one of these three cells, doesn't it? And that means that a 1 will have to go in one of these two cells for row 4. And since there is a 1 here, then this is where the 1 goes. And now we have a few restrictions. In particular, I'm looking at the 2's. The 2 here puts a 2 in this cell or in this cell. However, the 2 here and the 2 here block these three cells from containing a 2. Therefore, a 2 for this column must go either here or here. So it goes 2 here, and the 2 here, and the 2 here puts a 2 in this cell. And now I need to find a 6 and a 9 to complete this row. There's a 6 already in this block, so clearly the 9 must go here and the 6 here. And that is kind of neat because now we are looking at a missing 4 and a 9 here. We have a 4 and a 9 up here. That means that these two cells must be a 4 and a 9, and therefore these two cells have to be a 7 and an 8. These three cells, of course, now will have to be a 1, 2, and an 8, and the order is by no means given at this time, so I'll just let it lie for a while and revert back to it later. I almost did overlook the 9 that will have to go here. Now the 9 here, of course, puts a 9 in one of these two cells. So we need to find a 9 for these three cells. And there's a 9 here and here. And that means that a 9 will have to go here. And now we just need to find a 4, 6, and a 7 to complete this row. And of course, one of these cells must be an 8 because there's no place for an 8 here, which is being blocked by this 8. I just realized that a 6 must go in this cell because the 6 here and the 6 here block these cells from being a 6, and therefore a 6 will have to go in one of these two cells. I mentioned that earlier. And a ghost 6 here and a 6 here puts a 6 in one of these two cells, but not in this one because we have a 6 already pointing to this cell. So this is a 6 now. And now the 8 here blocks this cell, so an 8 will have to go in one of these two cells, and therefore in one of these two cells. Something just occurred to me. There are only two givens in the first column here, but we already established that this cell must be a 4 or a 9, and we also know that these two cells must be a 1, 4 or a 9, or actually a 1, 4, 9 here and a 1, 4 here. So we've got a triple, a 1, 4, and a 9 in these three cells, leaving a 2, 6, 7, and an 8 to complete the column. There is a 6 and a 7 here, so this now must be a 2 or an 8. And furthermore, since we have found a triple, a 1, 4, and a 9 for the column, then clearly this cell and this cell and this cell cannot be a 9. And this cell and this cell can't be 9s either because of the 9 here. So a 9 will have to go in one of these cells. And a ghost 9 here and the 9 here does put a 9 in this cell. And that resolves the 9 and the 4 pair that we had going on here, and the 4 here and here now puts a 4 in this cell, making this a 6 and a 7. This is beautiful, if you don't mind my saying so. These two cells now have to be a 7 and an 8, and given the 7 here, we know what to do, don't we? And you know something else? I was focusing on the 9s for this column here, but the same is true for the 1s. A 1 can't go here, here, or here, because it has to be either here or here. So given the 1 up here and a ghost 1 down here, one of these cells will have to be a 1. And guess what? it already had also to be a 9. So here we now have a 1-9 pair. Unfortunately, we can't seem to do anything with the 4s. The 4 will have to occupy this cell, or this cell, and therefore none of these 3 cells. But I don't know yet about any of these 4, so that will have to wait. I think here comes possibly the solution to the puzzle. I'm looking at these 2 cells. They have to be a 7 and an 8, don't they? Now I'm looking at this restricted column, and it turns out that this cell has to be a 7 or an 8 as well. So, because we still need to find a 6, 7, and an 8 for the column, right? And we have a 6 here. So this is a 7 or an 8, and this is a 7 or an 8. And that gives me a 2. See if you can figure it out, because it's not really obvious. But I'm remembering the 1, 4, and a 9 for these 3 cells, right? A 1, 4, and a 9. Remember those. Still leaving me to find 4 new digits for the column, a 2, 6, 7, and an 8. 2, 6, 7, and an 8. And look here, we got a 7, 8 here, and we got a 6. Therefore, this cell must be a 2. That was nice. Now this puzzle qualifies as an evil puzzle in my book, and I'm really happy that I found it. Now the 2 here and the 2 here gives me a 2 here, and of course the 2 here and the 2 here puts a 2 in this cell. Now we are cooking. This is nice. And since we have a 6 and a 7 here, these 2 cells must be a 6 and a 7, and that leaves an 8 for this cell. These were a 4 and a 9, remember? So therefore this is now a 1, putting a 1 in this cell and a 9 here. I'm sure you remember the 1-9 pair we had here, right? And the 9 here resolves the 4 and the 9 pair down here, like so. And this cell now must be a 9, of course. And the cell up here, oh, what did I do? A 9. There you go. And the cell up here must become a 4. So the 4 here and here and here puts a 4 in this cell, like so. Now we just need a 7 and 8 here, 7, 8 here, 7, 8 here. A 6 and a 7 here puts an 8 in this cell, 7 here, 8 here, 7 here. Now we are cooking. And of course a 7 here and a 6 here. And the 6 here and here puts a 6 in this cell, like so. And because of the 6 here now, this cell becomes a 6 and this a 7. The 1 here puts a 1 in this cell. The last digit here is going to be a 8. Now these two were 1, 4, and 9, right? Now there's no 9 to be found, so this is a 1 or a 4. And therefore, well, the 1 here puts a 1 in this cell, and therefore this cannot be a 1. It must be a 4, and this must be a 1. And this is now a 4, making this one here an 8. And that makes this an 8, and this is a 7. I really liked this puzzle because it had at least 3 places where it required a little bit of abstract thinking, and I hope that you enjoyed it as well. This classifies as an evil puzzle, I think, and it was difficult to solve it without using pencil marks. With pencil marks, it would have been a lot faster, of course, but it would not have been nearly as much fun. Thank you for watching, and see you back here again soon, I hope. Bye for now.